she has about the ballots for all the judges. So let's give the floor to Annette McCullough.
Hey! So the judging is done by club members. So everybody who is not a contestant in this exact presentation is doing an evaluation. So who might that be? In order to be a judge in this contest, you see that the judging items are divided in 4 categories. Please take a look at the front of your form. They are weighted for you based on excellent, very good, good, and fair, analytical quality, recommendations, technique, and summation. Now I'd like you to turn the paper over on the other side, and you'll see what it is you are evaluating on. Analytical quality refers to the effectiveness of the evaluation. Every evaluation should carefully analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the speaker's presentation. Were the evaluator's comments clear and logical? Did the evaluator identify specific strengths and weaknesses of the presentation? The next part is recommendations. Recommendations are an important part of an evaluation. An evaluator not only points out the strengths and weaknesses of a speech, but he or she also offers specific recommendations for improvement. Recommendations should be practical, helpful, and positive, and they should enable the speaker to improve his or her next presentation. Technique. Technique refers to the manner in which the evaluator presents his or her comments, recommendations. An evaluator should be sensitive to the feelings and needs of the speaker, yet inspire and encourage the speaker in his or her future efforts. Summation. Summation is how the evaluator concludes the evaluation. The conclusion should briefly summarize the evaluator's comments and suggestions and be positive and encouraging. Now, the most important part, the judge's code of ethics. Number 1, you will consciously avoid bias of any kind in selecting first, second, and third place contestants. You will not consider any club, area, division, or district affiliation, nor will you consider a contestant's age, sex, race, creed, national origin, profession, political beliefs, or blood type. You will demonstrate the utmost objectivity. Judges will not judge the timing of a speech. You do not consider the time, whether it's over or under. That's not your job. Judges support by word and deed the contest rules and judging standards, refraining from public criticism of a contest and revealing the scores and ranking only in accordance with official policy. Now, here's what you do with this form. In order to be a valid ballot, you must sign it. So please, right now, print your name at the bottom and sign it. You will be getting a separate form for the tall tale contest. This is just for the evaluation portion. So after the speaker has completed his speech, the evaluators will adjourn outside and make notes. Then the evaluation contestants will be enter the room one at a time. You will evaluate them. You have 1 minute of silence when they're finished to write notes on your form. Then we'll have a second evaluator, and again 1 minute of silence. After the third, you have as long as you need to finish all your evaluations, sum up your numbers, conclude with the first, second, or third. Now notice this is tricky. It always trips somebody up. First place is 3 points, second place is 2 points, third place is 1 point. So you are listing them by whether they are first place, second place, or third place on this side right here.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Good evening, everyone. Yes. And thank you for this opportunity.
Many times you hear phrases like this. Tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Tell me what you eat and I'll tell you who you are. Tell me what books you read and I'll tell you who you are. A good way to judge people. Kind of get some rhythm on that. But why are we waiting for other people to define us? We need to define ourselves to everybody else. Because once you give them the opportunity, they will define you how they seem fit or what that moment was. If they saw me coming out of church, pious religious man. If I come out from that store which has a lot of double X's and magazines that you would probably hide from your children and friends, you would say a scoundrel, right? I actually was helping somebody who had fainted to take them to that store to get them medical attention. Of course, nobody is going to believe that story. So, the essence is you have to develop your brand and who you are. It sounds very commercial. We have commercialism on everything. We want state parks to be named after companies, football stadiums after banks. You know, like, okay, here he goes again. He wants to sell the last bit of my own self-esteem to somebody else. No, I don't. I want you to define yourself as an individual. If I tell somebody, oh, this young man, he went to the 99-cent store to get his charming bride a ring, the bride would be ashamed, the potential bride would be ashamed to say that he went to the 99-cent store. But if I said, he went to Tiffany's in Beverly Hills to get the ring, you would say, good man, he values her. Well, those are two different brands. And I tell you that when on my trip, I stayed at Motel 6. I'm like, okay, we've all stayed there once in our lifetime. But if I tell you, I stayed at the Ritz-Carlton in Laguna Niguel, I'm like, oh. So those are brands, and we all have our own personal brand. So I want you to start looking at yourself as a brand, as a commodity. If you had to sell yourself, what would it be? And it's not about salesmanship. It's not about selling cars. It's about selling who you are. And it's not really selling. It's defining who you are as a brand. And do not give that opportunity and privilege and that right to somebody else to define you. Because that definition can be so misconstrained and could be contorted, and sometimes they could get it right. However, why do you want to take that chance? So what about a brand? We talk about Starbucks. You look at it, initially when Starbucks first came out, if somebody had a cup of Starbucks coffee, classy connoisseur of coffee, has good taste. And there you were, coming from Arco, and you had your coffee cup behind and you were walking this way, right? Because, and the person who had the Starbucks was walking around like this. Okay, those are brands. What does it say? So when we look back, I want you to start looking at yourself as a brand. How does your family see you? How do your friends see you? How do your co-workers see you? Can they trust when you say that you will do something? Do they say, you're a person of integrity? Do they say, this work, I know Keith did this. It's got a signature all over it. For two reasons. Either it's really good, or it's really bad. And both of them can be your brand. You have to make that choice. We lack heroes in our age and time, and a lot of people are looking at us to be heroes. Our kids, our neighbors, they want us to see us doing the right things. And we have to do that. We have to develop this brand. We have to find that discipline to make these things work. And once you understand that you are somebody more than just a person, and you're actually an example, a role model on any and everything you do, that is your personal brand. So to sum it up, here's what I would like you to remind you about. When you think about a brand, I want you to think about what would you like written on your tombstone, but actually being able to see it while you're alive. My mother always said, if you want to give me flowers, please give them to me now. Do not buy me one flower when I'm dead. So I'd like to know what's on my tombstone. I'd like to see it now. If you had 30 seconds to define yourself, what would be the message that you would portray to somebody? Because that's going to last forever. good or bad, that's going to last forever. You have that 30-second window of opportunity to say, this is who I am. It comes through effort, hard work, patience, perseverance, a lot of dedication, and sometimes it's not fun to be a good brand. It's good to be a bad brand. Just say, forget it. I don't want to do this anymore. But that's the discipline that you need to define who you are. So don't look at it commercially. Look at it as a way of defining yourself, as who you are. When you walk into the room, they say, I know this guy. He's really a man of integrity. Or I know this guy. He's a total liar. Okay, that is my brand. And I take that very carefully. And remember, every time you have a chance to show your brand, you need to show it with pride and distinction. I thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Please help me welcome past District Governor Carolyn Cousins Goldman.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and particularly you, Keith. I really enjoyed your speech. I thought it was really an interesting subject matter, and I learned a lot about branding. For example, I've never really thought about the idea of letting others define us, and you brought that point out very well. I thought the speech was very well organized. It was easy to understand. You brought up the fact very clear in the beginning that if we had to sell ourselves, what would that be? And you also brought up the fact that we don't want to allow others to define us. That's a very important issue. You used effective examples that we all know, products that we're familiar with, like Tiffany's and Starbucks, for example. And that made the speech more understandable. And also brought us into your speech more because they were examples that we were familiar with. I thought that you came up here very confidently. You commanded the room quite well. Body language was good overall, and you had great eye contact. I felt that you looked around the room at each person. The other thing I thought you did very well, Keith, is that you asked questions and then you paused. A lot of times when people ask questions, they kind of run over into the next statement, or they don't allow that pausing that allows us to think about the answer to what you're proposing. So I thought that was very good. You have a great voice. You have a very nice voice projection. And your personal style is very warm, and you connect well. I like that, and used humor to bring that personal style home. Now, what could you have done that I feel, in my opinion, could have been better? Well, there wasn't a lot, but I'll give you a few things. I noticed you clasped your hands a few times, and that actually throughout the speech you did it actually on and off. So I would watch that. Rather than clasping your hands, it's better to have them down by the side. That's one suggestion that I would definitely give you on that. The other thing I noticed is that in the beginning you pointed. Pointing is not a good idea. Pointing this way, which you did, was fine. But for some reason, some people get offended. So rather than pointing to make your point, so to speak, it's better to have open hands. But other than that, the only other thing that I noticed is that you thank the audience at the end. We don't need to do that. They should be thanking us Toastmasters, right? You did a great job, Keith, though. I thought it was a great speech, easy to follow. You had nice body language overall. You were confident. You were sure of yourself. You asked appropriate questions, used appropriate examples. Did a nice job. Just watch the hand clasping and watch the pointing, and you never have to thank us. I look forward to hearing your next speech. Thank you.